Recording there. Recording here, and here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Summer's starting to kind of sneak its way in, and I'm excited. We are almost in agreement, and we are brought to you today by Fanatic Brewing Company, fanaticbrewing.com/agreement. Their fan base, which is their tap room, is located at 2727 North Central Avenue. If you got the opportunity to go by and check them out there, they have all sorts of stuff going on, including they've changed their hours, and I need to get that updated to you guys. So instead of it just being Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they are now open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 to whenever they feel like shutting down. On Thursdays, they have open mic comedy. On Friday and Saturday, they have $5 Black Angus burgers and or $5 Black Bean burgers for those who want non-meat options. We are almost in agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Our website is up and running. It is almostagreement.com. You can go there to get all the episodes or on your favorite podcast provider. And that's us. I've got Deidra Harper, who is running for seat 6 today, and we're going to chat about some of that kind of stuff and see what's going on. And we'll go from there, let the music play out, and we're going to make a show out of this. Slow fade into the split screen, and here we go. Deidra Harper, everybody, District 6. So real quick, one of the things for us in the show, one of the things that's been hardest for me as a resident to keep track of is districts, because I am a county resident. I'm not a city resident, and I still don't know all my county districts. So give us the quick once-over of the map of District 6.
Okay, so District 6 is made up of downtown Knoxville and East Knoxville. And the thing about District 6 that I love the most is it is the only district that touches all the rest of the districts. So to me, we are the nucleus and we are the heartbeat of this city.
I like that. That's an interesting little factoid to add to it. I appreciate that. Okay, so downtown East Knoxville. So you're in the epicenter of the conversation about baseball stadiums. I mean, multi-use stadiums. I get in trouble for saying that wrong all the time. But let's not start there. Let's start with some other stuff. So what got, I mean, have you been politically active historically? Is this a new kind of venture for you? How did you get into where you are today?
All right, this is definitely a new venture for me. I've not been in the political space at all. I just knew that there was a need in my community. I live in East Knoxville. I'm from Knoxville, born and raised right here. So, just over the years I've been growing up here, and I've just seen a decline in my community. And I just felt like, on top of the other things that I'm already involved in and was doing, I thought this was just another space to expand the impact. So,
okay, and one of those other things I saw, and help me make sure I say the name correctly. It's the women's group. What is it exactly?
Yeah, so we are the Women LLC, the Women Foundation.
The Women Foundation. All right, I do want to talk about that in a minute, but we'll come back to that after we talk some politics and stuff. Okay, so you made the jump because you saw the need. Was there a particular event or series of events that made it go from I'm active in my community to I want to be in office in my community?
Yes, honestly, with last year, the pandemic hitting, I think there was just the shades were pulled back on a lot of the injustice that was going on. I got involved in the Breonna Taylor protest. That's when George Floyd happened, Ahmaud Arbery. So it was just just things just kept rolling out. So after getting involved with those, I was like, okay, well, I can protest and I can be against those things, but what is another space that's going to actually put me at the table to make change at the table, not just a seat, but to be able to be involved in the conversation. And, city government on a local level was the next step that I felt was going to allow me to have that opportunity.
Okay, on the Breonna Taylor one, I'm excited, and I've got to get some clarification on it. I believe Tennessee is banning no-knock raids, which is a big one. I like that. I'm excited about that. I fancy myself a libertarian, so no-knock raids are one of the things that's been on the libertarian agenda for a little while, and excited to see stuff like that going through. Okay, so policing, some of the historical racial issues seem to be some of the motivating factor to you, if I'm following you correctly. And so, for me, like, one of the things on the show, I've had Lundy on and other county reps as well as some other city people. I had Tommy Smith on a little bit ago. I had Gwen McKenzie a couple months ago. And is Gwen McKenzie 6 right now? Or she won? She's 6 right now, so you're fighting her. Cool. You'll be my first opponent for this cycle so far. I didn't. Well, I had Gwen as a council person, not as a candidate, so it's a little bit different. I'll have her back on to talk more future instead of past tense. But so um, one of the things for me that I'm trying to wrap my head around, because I'm what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm blanking out. I have a newfound knowledge of my own ignorance, I guess is a way to put it. Like, I was generally a standoffish, whatever's going on over there, it's none of my business kind of thing, which is still, I'm still a libertarian. So, to each his own is one of my kind of standard rules. But I've gotten a quick education on some of the things that I was painfully ignorant about. One of the ones of the some of the racial inequality stuff, the redlining that we've talked about a lot recently here, and the generational wealth thing. That's one of the things to me that just on an economics thing, which is stuff that I do understand, makes some of the racial issues more forefront. And so I guess one of my concerns, or one of the things for me, since I'm freshly ignorant on it, is what are some of the steps we can take to make up from some of the things that happened 50, 60 years ago that's going to have a reasonable future change to kind of correct some of those prior mistakes, for lack of a better phrasing.
Yes. So, in my opinion, what I think is needed, one in District 6 is development and investment.
Okay.
A lot of these things stem from poverty. And I know you've probably heard that a lot, but it's true. We only make up a small percentage you know, of Knoxville, and that small percentage of 17%, 42% of Black people are in poverty.
Right.
And poverty is just the root for a lot of things in our community. And like I said, I've just seen a decline since I've been growing up here. So I know investment is needed, that will allow people to stay in this community, not leave, not go elsewhere. We don't have grocery stores, we don't have, eateries. I mean, there's nothing in this area until you get to downtown. But what about the other part of District 6? So I definitely think that development and investment is needed in this part of the city so that we can continue to reduce that poverty rate, provide jobs, access to jobs. A lot of people in District 6 can't, they don't have a car. They can't get on the bus line to make it to the places that are out in PAL, that are in other places. But
Right.
why can we not be a catalyst to have those things right here in our community as well?
Right. Because I saw some discussion, I guess just today, yesterday, on the mayor's budget, as far as some of the mass transit usage and stuff like that, trying to expand some of the access to make it so that you could live in East Knoxville and reasonably get to where the work is, because that's one of the things that a lot of people are saying, is that there's jobs available and there's people that are looking for work, but we got to figure out how to put them in the same, we got to figure out how to get them from home to work and back, and to make that kind of thing work. Okay. Again, like, I don't know how much you've heard of us. Like, we are just crossing the year threshold of doing stuff. And so I'm really trying to work into how the things work, and where we go from here. And so, we had the Austin East incidents and the multiple ones, and I think you already hit the nail on the head. It's an economics issue more than it is anything else. And so, I don't know, like, okay, so I guess that rolls into the baseball multi-use stadium project. Where do you stand on that one? I guess it doesn't matter because it's going to be in the past by the time you get into seat, assuming you do. But what is your feeling on the multi-use project?
I do think investment, like I just mentioned, investment and development is needed in East Knoxville, but I don't like development that comes with displacement. So my thing is with the multi-use stadium, if it's going to provide jobs, that's great. If it's going to provide a place for people to visit, that's great. But I would like to see a commitment, a certain percentage that is committed to jobs for those that are in this community. There's one thing to say, like, yeah, it will provide jobs, it will provide access, but then sometimes we start looking at those numbers and we're still a very, very small percentage of those who have access to those resources that they're providing. I know there's been conversation around community benefits agreements, and I am felt for that. I think the more that we can get gym development to make a commitment in a number, not just a verbal commitment, but let's say 15% of those jobs will go to, Black contractors. 15% of those jobs will go to, businesses that will be able to put their business into this space. So that's where I am with it. I don't I'm not okay with, like I said, development with displacement, but if we can get some hard numbers and some accountability that can be had with the development, I think it will be a good thing for the city.
Okay, because that's kind of where I'm at too. Because it was always a finance question, and the more I've dug into the finances, it's really kind of a it's an even money game. We're not losing anything by doing it unless it's a complete failure, which is unlikely. Um, and for those that use it, those will be the ones that get the extra tax on it. It won't be like I'm way out here on the west side in the county, and as far as I understand the county portion of the budget, I'm not there's nothing coming out of my tax portion for it unless I go down there and spend money and do stuff in the sales tax generated from it. And so that part's kind of exciting to me, and I think I there's hope for that. I suppose that again, I don't understand the community benefits agreements probably well enough to really speak on it personally, but I would hope that just the economic impact of it directly, and then all the work that comes with that, and then as it kind of flowers out, that it should grow into that Magnolia Avenue and all that part of town to help grow that, because it's going to. But one of the things that I always get confused on is that when you say displacement, is that it's going to raise values, and if it raises values, it raises taxes. If it raises taxes, then it becomes an affordability question. Even if you're a renter, the landlord's going to change rent to make up for that new tax. And so how do we manage that aspect of it? That's the one part that I really can't wrap my head around yet, because if it works, which it should, there's no way it doesn't raise land values around it and property values, and then the gentrification conversation starts rolling in, where people come in and buy these homes and apartments and stuff like that, and they renovate and they put a bunch of money into it and raise value, and then that's where the displacement comes from. So what's the solution on that side?
Yes, so I'm glad you said that, because those were like about 3 points that I wanted to make. Like, at the end of the day, I just want to be clear, and I'm saying that I am not for any public dollars going towards this baseball stadium, or the multi-use stadium. So I wrote that down because I want to be sure, and I say that as well. So I'm not, he's a private investor, and I think he can use his money to do the private investment. But then that's when I get frustrated sometimes with the city of Knoxville government, is because we'll put in their, the city will put in money and they'll help this development. But then we have a whole community here who's been asking for development for years now, and we've not been able to receive that type of same investment. The second thing, like you mentioned, property values, that is a big key thing. So yes, okay, tax dollars might not be used to support the stadium, but we do know that property values are going to go up in the area. I mean, that's just probably what comes with it. So the future thinking with that is, and I am the organization in the or the law is slipping my mind at this time, but that is when I feel like we have to be creative in government space, because there are opportunities to where we can start putting caps on property value taxes, your taxes. So, okay, let's figure out how to put a cap on, maybe your elderly, because those are going to be the ones that are affected as well. Our elderly generation, they're going to be not able to afford, they're on fixed income. They don't have the extra money to afford the houses that they're in. A lot of the Black community, that's when we talk about gentrification, we're in poverty right now. So now you're going to raise property, our taxes are going to go up. So how
Okay,
can we figure out how to be creative in putting a cap on maybe those taxes so that they don't increase?
so here I don't know if this is a statistic, like what's the percentage of home ownership by like actual home residents in that in this region that we're talking about? It's like own the home they live in versus renting currently. Like that's because I not to add to your idea, but that I think if it's ownership, it's a different conversation about, because then it's a bonus to raise property value, because that owner can either stay there and have a more valuable home for when they do sell it, because then that brings in our generational wealth conversation again, or they could sell it and move to a different place and have that income from the sale. And so like that just clicked in my head, is that how many, like as a percentage, how much home actual residential live in the house they own versus renters in that region, for lack of a better word.
So what I will say is you're right on target when you think about home ownership, and that's going to tie right back into generational wealth. But that is the key. I don't actually know that percentage, but if majority of District 6 is sitting in somewhat of a poverty state, there's not a lot of home ownership going on either. There's a lot of renting,
Right.
they're coming up with affordable housing. So I don't know that exact percentage, but I know that there is a lack of home ownership amongst the Black community, and a lot of that community lives in District 6. So we're not even owning our homes. So that's why we don't have the wealth. That's why we're not able to afford to own homes, is because we're living in poverty. So it's all a trickle down of systemic oppression, and home ownership is just one of those other areas.
Okay. Because again, that's, I don't know. I was thinking like when we were thinking about being creative in process, when
Hmm.
it becomes a rental, if it's a rental property, I think there you could probably more easily put stipulations on a landlord renting than you could on an individual by a demographic, saying, well, we're not going to change taxes because that person's 65 or older, but
Hmm.
we're not going to change taxes on this being a rental property and they can use some of the HUD systems and stuff like that. I don't know. This is above
Right.
my pay grade for sure. But it's, again, this, like, to me, it's,
I
I'm
like
just,
the way you're thinking.
and that's I don't know. I don't know. Like, do you have a party affiliation?
No, or
I mean, I
this
know
is a
it's a city race, so
nonpartisan
it's
race.
nonpartisan, but I don't believe that for a second. Not for you personally, but that we don't all know who the parties of the players at B are. I mean, not all of
Hmm.
them per se, but everybody's got something in the background at least. But because, like, again, for me, the libertarian part of me is going to say that these are some of where the I don't know. I guess my issue is where government gets involved, it seems to break things down, in my opinion, instead of bring things up. I mean, redlining was a government thing in the first place, and so it's the people that did the damage. In an individual thing, maybe the person that does the damage should be required to fix it, but to assume that the people that continue to do damage are going to somehow do better this time, that's my fear in anything that's an additional layer to a government interaction. Um, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought there. I apologize.
That's fine. I think I know where you're going with it, but
Yeah, I don't. I blanked out. It's been a weird week. Like, it's just been a one of
it's
those
okay.
weeks. But I don't edit, so I'm happy to
Well,
look stupid in front of everybody too. So
no. Well, what I was thinking when you were talking was just that, putting people in positions, like putting a fish. What am I trying to say? Electing people into positions that represent the people. I think that's where we have failed sometimes. And when we think about these parties and the status quo, this elite class, who do you know? No, we need to be putting people in positions that are really about the people. Because, for instance, in my particular district, we have empowerment zones, redevelopment spaces, to where you're able to receive some type of tax incentive for any type of development in that particular area. But the problem is, a lot of times, like I say, the city of Knoxville will capitalize on those percentages. Okay, let's capitalize on this area that's in poverty, but that money doesn't come back down to the community that they're capitalizing on, if that makes sense.
right.
So how can we continue to put people in positions that are really going to advocate for the people?
Okay. That tracks for sure. Because, I mean, again, like, the weirdism of being a libertarian is I don't like government in general, and so when I advocate for people that lean libertarian, it's like I'm advocating for somebody to do the thing that I don't want anybody to do, which is the complexity of trying to be a libertarian, I guess. But okay, let's talk about the women thing, because I was reading on one of your doodads. So what is, like, tell me the background, like the mission statement, for lack of a better word, of that organization.
Yes. So the mission of the women is to provide access to capital to small Black businesses.
Okay, where do you
And
guys get
simply
money?
put, that's what we are. So the community, we raise money. We just have community people that just pour into us, donate to us, and that's where we get that money, and then we reinvest it back into the community.
Well, that's cool. I like that kind of thing, because
Yeah.
because again, it's a again, the libertarian to me, that's a free market thing. That's a group of people doing a thing for their groups of people, and I'm always a fan of self actualization, for lack of a better word. Putting,
Hmm.
not just putting the talk out, doing the dirty work to get the job done. I like that a lot. Okay, so back
Oh, and
to
I did
go
want to
ahead.
say, I did want to say, because I forgot to mention, so yes, we are providing access to capital to small Black businesses, but how we're doing that is because we provide interest-free microloans. So that's, somebody might watch and say, well, how are you doing that? So how we do that is, yes, we raise the money, people donate to us, and then with the money that we get, we're able to figure out how we can help those businesses with the interest-free microloan. So
Okay,
that's
so if
how
I
it
give
works
you
together.
10 grand to do it, do I get my 10 grand back eventually, or is it a full donation?
Well, you would that would be a full donation. You would
Okay,
be
because that's what I was
donating
curious
your
about. Because
funds,
again,
and
like
we would
because you say a microloan, and
really
because
see,
then you
because
go and
we're
give it
we
again.
don't
I
get
get it.
paid. We're not looking to that, but we
Oh, technical issues. All right, we lost connection for a second, everybody. Hopefully, I can get her back. There she is. Are you back? Nope. Yes. Nope. Internet's great. I need to get that KUB
yep,
broadband in
I'm
here.
back. I'm here. Yep.
um, I'm not sure how I feel about that one. That's a random transition, but have you been
Oh
following
yeah,
the?
we can talk about that. I was going to
Sure.
say, how do you feel about that? I
I
was
got.
going
I
to say
mean,
that's a good conversation to
well, I mean,
have.
the like it's a socialization issue, which I'm not a big fan of. Being the libertarian part of me, it's like if I understand it correctly, that I, as a KUB customer, will have an addition to my bill to pay for the building of the broadband, but I don't get the broadband for my payment. If they put it out and available to me, then I can add it, and then I'll have a separate payment for that. But I will still, regardless of whether I use the service or not, have to pay for it. And I don't really understand why I should have to do that. I've already got a big enough fight with KUB. I just had to pay $1,500 to KUB for the privilege of paying them for handling my wastewater, and then paying them for that as well. And so I'm not a big. I have issues with utilities in general. I understand the premise of why a utility needs to exist, but it's one of those things. I need to find it. I've got a list of all the different committees and stuff that run through the mayor's office, both city and county, and the county has an utility oversight board. And I need to get some of those people in and talk to them about it, because I own a business, and we're up in the Powell neighborhood, and then Hallsdale, which I don't know how much you've heard about how crazy Hallsdale Powell Utilities is, and then I have my issues with KB out at the house. And so, I mean, I don't know. Like I believe that internet is as needed an infrastructure item as roads and power and water. I believe that it is of that. You are hard pressed to function in 2021 in any level without having access to internet. And so I think it's important that it's out there. But I'm curious, like I'm curious why the private companies aren't bothering going to some of these more rural areas. And then, I don't know. It's weird to me that it's just that we're going to subsidize it in this way. To me, it should be a budget item if we're going to do it and subsidize the use of it. I know the state's got money that they're putting into it, but then the local county, city should put money into it to subsidize it, to make it available, not every single individual on their own bill, because that's what my tax
Right.
money, if it's tax money, that's what it should be going to, things like that. Not, it's a new tax essentially on me as a customer of KUB. And I don't like that part of it. Because again, like go up to the Halls region of it, where KUB only does partial service, but those customers are paying for it as well. And so I don't know, it's weird. I don't know. The utilities have a whole bunch of mess for me,
Yeah.
functionally speaking, but I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
then the
it.
fact that they're, well, in Knoxville, like the only utility service provider, you're kind of like, well, where do you go? What do you do? I mean, there's no other option.
Right. Right. That was my whole
So
thing with
it's kind of like
wastewater.
strong arming you
Yeah.
to do it, like not given a choice.
Oh, I go next level on. I have issues with rural metro for the same kind of thing. I'm in the county. I don't have city fire service. I'm in the county for a reason, because I want to burn stuff. That's one of the reasons I bought a county house, is I want to be able to burn my brush piles and stuff like that. And I got a big fight with rural metro over it, because they charged me to come out for no reason. And I was like, you're a private company. I didn't request your service. You need to go away. Well, we have a contract with the county. We have to respond to calls, and if we respond to calls, we have to bill you. It's like, well, I didn't agree to that. That's why I bought a county house. And so I had a big debacle there. So I don't know. Okay, so one of the things that's been really bothering me recently is this conversation about police and schools. I don't know if you've got a stance on that or not, but it really perturbs me how poorly educated we are as a public to get so reactionary to the mayor pulling out the 15 police officers. I don't understand. Like that bothers me. Like that bothers me that we're not educated enough as the public. That's one of the things I do on the show a lot. I really blame voters for all the problems. It's voters' fault. It's not really leadership's fault because we put you there, you know. And so like I'm interested in anything that I think is a failure now and doing it a different way. And so I'm very interested to follow this conversation about the new in policing in general, but specifically on the school things that's going on right now, and where you feel like that's where you feel maybe a better direction for that is.
Police in schools, like when I heard that that happened, well, watched Mayor Kincannon like give that statement, and then I kind of did see the reaction from the public, which some were like, "Well, I don't agree with removing police from schools," and I just had to sit and think, like, well, why do we feel that they're necessary? Like, when has there been a time when police like showed up in school and made it enjoyable and fun, and like they were just needed in that space? Our kids already are dealing with a lot of trauma in general. School should be a place of learning, fun, letting your hair down, being able to engage with your classmates, and just really be there to learn, and not necessarily fearful for police presence. And I think that was just, what happened with at Austin's High School. They then started to install clear backpacks. Then they went to the metal detectors. And I watched one of the young kids talk at the city council the other day, and he just said, I just feel like I'm a walking zombie in the hallways.
Right.
Because school, and I do not think that is the message that Knox County and any county or any school district would want their kids to feel when they come to school to learn, that they're just walking in a space in another institution.
Right.
And we already have the school to prison pipeline. I just felt like it's not needed. We are at a place right now, I feel like, in the world, and especially in Knoxville, that we are open to new ideas and creative ways of thinking, even when it comes to teaching in school. But just with the police, I think we are at a place where we can change and try and see something different in the effects that that would make. And I don't think that it would be a bad or a negative effect.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm of the same ilk. I think there is a significant school or not, just policing in general. I think there's a significant. I always kind of break it down and simplify it as there is an us versus them that is built into the way we do this.
Hmm.
That is there is the police and the structure that is the police, and then there's us out in the community. I don't have the next level of that of being a person of color or a woman having to deal with the police in the community, but even just as random white dude as I am, I drive down the street and I see a sheriff's car and I'm like, please don't look at me. Leave me alone. I don't want to interact with you. I likely have a better outcome at the end of some interaction with them if I do get pulled over for speeding or whatever. But at the end of the day, the idea that any interaction with police is a bad interaction for me as the citizen is the actual problem. And that to me is what we need to figure out how to overcome. Like I'm really mad at the sheriff for his new decal scheme, which is ridiculous and divisive. But like I hate the ghost cars. Like the idea that they're hiding from us to protect us. That doesn't. They're what's that we are not the same thing anymore. If we're not the same thing anymore,
Right.
then you have an agenda that is not in my best interest. And so I am super ears for any different versions of the way to do this. I'm not going to say we don't need police at some level, that there isn't some value in a structure that has a protective and especially a punitive sense in reaction to an actual crime. And that's another separate conversation about what we define as crime as people and what should or shouldn't be there, libertarian. But that kind of thing. So I don't know, where do you stand on some of the new ways of kind of maybe pushing law enforcement to a different model than we're currently doing?
I'm glad you asked that, because I was just reading today, and I saw the partnership with KPD and mental health professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a concern. I've talked with a few people, and then police showing up to situations where there's a mental health, a suicidal crisis, or just it could possibly be maybe in a sense a domestic violence case, but just showing up already to criminalize and not to kind of understand where that individual is. So I think that that is a great thing of trying to either connect or replace, those types of instances with mental health professionals. I think that's going to be helpful. Now, um the thing is, I'm going to follow that story too, like you said, just to kind of see how now that that partnership is being made. I think KPD officers are paired with a mental health professional, and now that we're showing up to that scene, are we still arresting the people though? Because that's a concern. Or are we really there trying to figure out how to provide them and get them the adequate resources that they need as a mental health person? So
Right. And I mean,
I think
there's bigger issues as I'm learning on that kind of thing is that like, um, right now the sheriff's office basically is the mental health facility on the side. So we don't have anywhere to put a mental health issue instead of other than make them a criminal so we can put them in jail, because that's the only mental health institution we basically have at this point, locally, which I don't know the solution on that one either, because I mean, yes, a new hospital would be useful, for sure, but again, it's one of those, we got to, how do we get that first interaction to put the people in the right places on the other side is an issue, because I don't know, I get the thought all the time, and it's a very fleeting kind of crazy thought, I guess, but it's like, how many, what do we need police for? Like, what do we actually need an armed person in a uniform showing said authority? Like, what situation, like, how often do those situations actually occur where we need that person around, where what we really need is somebody to manage a situation and work with people to get a mutually beneficial outcome, whether it's community and that individual or that individual and their neighbor or whatever it is. That's one of the things that I struggle with, because like I always, like, we got in a big argument with me and a couple of the other guys a couple of shows ago about, like, police chases, like, or the Atlanta one, and I apologize, his name escapes me currently, but the one in Atlanta where it was the guy that tried to tase the cop and ran, and then the other cop shot him, and it was like,
mhm.
dude's drunk, what's he gonna do? You already have his car. He's going to run around the streets of Atlanta until he passes out somewhere, and you can go pick him up. What would that, like that's the thing to me. And again, it goes back to that us them thing. It's like, really, that's the police didn't want to lose that situation, and so this was the way to win that situation. And that's a terrible way to function. That's a terrible way to interact. And again, I'm not trying to advocate for just let criminals run free, but at the same time, when the interaction has to, when the chase has to end violently, we need to reevaluate the need of the chase. How hard is it to find somebody in 2021 when you really put forth the effort to go find them in a controlled manner instead of in the heat of the moment kind of thing? So that's one of the things for me there. I don't know. I'm all over the map today. I apologize again. So police heat stuff. I don't know what else is on your platform as a candidate. What are the things that you were wanting to get out of why you in this seat?
Yes. So why me is because I am stepping up to the plate to really figure out how to directly reduce that 42% poverty rate that comes with business development, community growth, youth enrichment programs. I mean, it's so ironic because all of these things that are happening now, I feel fall right in line to address a lot of the concerns, with the violence with that's going on in District 6. Anthony Thompson Jr. talking about our youth with our mental health. Resources have been extracted from District 6. They need to be poured back
Oh,
to
we had another little thing.
District 6.
Hold on a sec.
Um,
We
Austin East High
You broke out for a second,
School was a school.
man. I don't even have the kids here right now to be stealing all
That
the internet.
hear you though.
You can hear me? You're popping in and out, and you're frozen on the screen.
Hmm?
Do 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 do.
Um,
So I guess this is why I need that KUB broadband. All right, we'll see if we can. I'll talk to myself for a second. I apologize, guys. I don't know what's going on with me
can you
today. I got internets. Um, I don't know. Anyway, so you were on. I'm trying to
go
back.
back?
Yeah, you got real broke up there for a second. You were on. I'm trying to remember what was like the last full sentence you got out. It was stepping at the
Yeah, I
plate,
was.
the
Mhm,
42% poverty rate, investment,
mhm.
opportunity, jobs, and then that's kind of where it started breaking down.
Yeah. And I was talking about youth enrichment and the programs that have been extracted from, for example, Austin East High School in the trades. They're no longer available for those young kids. So now we don't have uh, development going on around our school. We're taking stuff out of the school that students need to become entrepreneurs to sustain themselves and sometimes their families at that age as well. So those are the things that I want to bring awareness to and really figure out. How we can work together. And one other thing that I'm interested in looking further into was the last one of the last city council meetings that I was at, and we were talking about the budget. Well, not we, but they were talking about the budget, and it was brought to the attention that if the council does not agree on the budget, the mayor is just can and did just approve the budget anyway. What type of democracy type government is that? Like you have a council of people that are there for you to talk with, and they have
Excuse me, that was my dog.
their own, yeah, their own spaces. So what does that charter look like in the city? How
Right.
can we look at that charter and see about, because it's talking about policies in the charter. Like if we can change policies and charters, I think we can really change the city.
Right, because that is something I've learned in talking to some of the city council people. As far as it's what they call a mayor-heavy government,
Mhm.
um, and so like it's a harder process for a council person to bring up an agenda item or some sort of legal thing to put into place. It really needs to come from the mayor's office, and it's kind of like a oversight board that doesn't have a lot of teeth. Which I do agree. That's it's a weird little ism, but I guess it's normal for a number of cities. I don't quite understand it. That's one of the things I'm trying to learn, and I don't think like again to put myself into context is I know that I don't know, and I'm learning how much other people don't know at the same time. In that like I didn't understand the difference in the way the city government and the county government work. I don't really don't understand how they interact with each other. That's one of the weirdisms to me. I'm on a metro kick. That's been my whole thing from the beginning of the show, which I'll ask that officially here in a second. But yeah, I do think it's an odd structural thing where you have because the council is just kind of there, and I guess their ears for their locations and their constituents to have a place to to put a thought to, and then that council person can turn around and do it. But again, if the mayor wants it, the mayor gets it. Um,
Mhm.
and I agree that's a strange system. And so, okay, fine, I'll get to the official question. I've been pitching Metro for a while. I think one of the things to me, and there's a couple different, there's a number of issues to me. I think legal pot is another one. It's inevitable. If you really think about it for 15 minutes, it's going to happen. Um, I think Knoxville will become a metro area sooner than I advocate sooner than later, but eventually it's going to happen. With the growth that we're expecting over the next decade or two, it's going to get to the point where we don't really have a choice. And my pitch is do it now while so we can structure it in a way that makes sense instead of doing it reactionary to when it's needed. And so I don't know how would you feel about Knoxville being one government instead of two?
Well, I think we would work better together because a lot of things it starts to become pointing the fingers. Well, that's not the city problem. That's the county problem. That's not the county. That's the city problem. So, but we're Knoxville. So why are we not like working together as one entity? I don't understand. We have the city council, then we have county commission, and then we have two different mayors that sometimes tend to butt heads on things. So how are we going to progress forward when we can't even come together for one thing, if that makes sense? So to me, just with that little bit of knowledge on my perspective outside looking in, it seems that operating under one particular government might be best. I would like to hear from you. Maybe what are some of the benefits that you think will come with that?
I mean, I think one of the big ones is if you break it down. Okay, so what are the most common things a government does? So locally, we have easy ones: law enforcement. We have the sheriff and the police department. I think I like the Nashville model on that one, where the police department is a body within the city as opposed to its separate entity like it is in the sheriff's office as a county thing. I, I, I like that there's more oversight in policing in the city's premise than there is the county. Sheriff Spangler can essentially do whatever he wants, and we have to deal with it, where Chief Thomas has to answer to the mayor and the council when things arise. So I like that part of the format. That's one of the big ones. Zoning issues, which is the one of the really, really weird ones, trying to watch city council and commission meetings, because zoning is one of those big things that is very strongly impactful, but really mundane and hard to pay attention to. And so we have the way the city wants to do things versus the way the county wants to do things. And if you're like me, where literally my fence on that side of my property goes to city, 3 houses down one direction goes to city, and then there's some stuff that's even the opposite direction that's still city, because I'm in that weird side of the West where I think it was Victor Ashe was just annexing like crazy when he was mayor. And so the broad planning of and how to handle the growth is a big one to me. Then we have fire coverage is another one, which I don't particularly care about fire coverage. My insurance is better off if my house burns to the ground, but that's just, if I ever am lucky enough for the house to burn. Well, I guess now would be a bad time because I'd never find enough lumber to build another house, but
or another home either.
Yeah, and so
going so fast.
Yeah, and so there's like those are kind of the big ones to me. But then again, like we have a city engineering and a county engineering department, and it's just it's how I don't know how many employees of the city and employees of the county work in these different departments. And to me, the libertarian to me, that's just money. That's just money going out. That's money that's collected through our taxes that's being spent on a redundancy. That's not a redundancy for safety. It's a redundancy because we're two entities doing two different things. So a lot of those is where I'd like to look into it. We already have so much stuff that's metroed anyway. We have we have the Metropolitan Planning Commission, which does deal with some of the zoning stuff that, as I just mentioned. But the court system's already metro basically. As far as I understand it, the city courts only do traffic stuff. They don't do all the criminal activities court-wise go through the county courts. And so it's like we have all this stuff the school system's another big one. The school system's already a metro school system. We don't have a separate city school systems. So a lot of that a lot of the stuff that we've done parts and pieces, and it's just, why are we still wasting on all these other ones? When if we do it now, when we have time to talk about it and really get it formatted in a way that makes sense moving forward. Now we have another one. We have the Sports Authority, which is now a metro. It's a metro body. It's like we're doing it in chunks. Well, let's just stop doing it in chunks and really break it down and set it up the way we want it. And honestly, the answer I get on everybody I talk to is yes, it's going to happen. But right now, and again, the nonpartisan city races, the city is much more progressive left and the county is much more conservative right, and you're never going to get the two bodies to agree on it. And it's like, I don't care about the political points game. I care about what's right for me as a citizen in this locality. And so that's where I get frustrated with it. And I hear that all the time. Like I joke all the time, I say it's a politics podcast, but it's a governance podcast. I'm trying to understand the government that I work under. And then I have to live within, and the politics is a byproduct that I have to deal with. The government is what I want to understand. I want to understand how my government works, what it's doing, what it should be doing, what it's doing badly, and how to help fix it. And then politics is a side effect of the drug that is government, I guess, for lack of a better word. Legal pot's another one of my big ones. Same premise. Everybody and their brother knows it's happening. Yeah. It's just there's no the political grease isn't there to get it done, and it's like, what are we doing? And again, it goes back to our policing issues. That's one of those biggest things, as far as the war on drugs being probably one of, if not the largest systematically racist thing ever created in the United States, to continue to keep old things in place. It's not about I don't know. It's the same thing. I don't know. It's just that's one of those things that frustrates me, because there's no logic behind it. When we really get down to it. What does simple possession do? Where's the negative effect of a simple possession? Like I mean, even dealing and stuff like that, I don't care about. The real criminal activity is, well, I was hopped up on crack and I broke into my neighbor's house. Well, you broke into your neighbor's house. That's a breaking and entering. That's its own crime. The motivation is very unimportant to you committed a criminal act, not of smoking crack, of breaking into your neighbor's house. That's the criminal act that I care about. Sit at your house, do whatever drugs you want. Heroin's fine. Do what you want. I don't care. It's not an excuse for bad behavior. The bad behavior is still bad behavior. That's my big thing on it. And the war on drugs is the worst. And we continue. And again, talking about wasted money. How many trillions of dollars over the decades have we wasted on the war on drugs? Where you look at California's and Colorado's. Maybe not California is the best example, but Colorado's a really good example of how much positive tax revenue. So saving money on all the criminal and legal mess that they had to do with it, and making a ton of money on the other side. And so like I'm strongly advocating for it and trying to get it done before it's federally legal, because then we get into the really good parts of it economically. Let me back up. I don't smoke pot. I haven't. I just don't enjoy it. It's not my thing. But if you look at states like Colorado and all that money they've made off of it, if we can get into place before it's federally legal, then we have local growers, local distributors, and local sellers. And that's jobs, taxes, locally.
Money, revenue.
Right. And it's in the state, it's in the locality. It's not going to be, because I know, like, in my business, we sell CBD. I buy some here that's produced locally, but for the most part, I buy from Colorado's and California's, states that have been doing it for longer, because they have better product. They know what they're doing. They have a history of it. So if we wait until it's federally legal, all the retail is going to come from Colorado's, California's, all the states that are already selling, because that's where the better production is going to be, because they have the history. Well, we can't import it if it's still federally illegal, so the local has time to catch up. So that's one of my issues, but that's a state issue. I've pitched it, and surprisingly, Becky Massey was probably the most in line with my thought process on it. She's super. She's not pro pot. She wants to go medical and all that stuff, and it's like let's skip the step of medical and just go full rec and quit wasting time. Yeah. That's where I'm at on it. But this show turned into too much of me. I'm here to talk about you.
Well, I mean, I like the conversational piece. I think that's where, you start being creative and thinking, and, your mind just start racing, because I was like, Knoxville is a first, or, high up on a few lists that are not good. I just saw the other stat that came out with, we have more policing going on here as compared to like a Chattanooga, Nashville, Memphis area, on our sides. I don't think that's a good thing. We have one of the highest poverty rates compared to other cities of our size. So why can't we be on the list of a first to do something like maybe legalizing marijuana? Why can't we be a first for a city our size, and something like that I think would bring a positive impact to our city. But then, like you said, going back to that war on drug, like that whole criminalizing thing. And it's interesting because I see KPD, they post, they have this big drug bust, but the percentage of unsolved murders in this city is just astronomical.
Right.
And I'm wondering what's going on there. We're more happy to like post our pictures of pounds of marijuana that maybe they've confiscated from someone, but we still have families out here who are still waiting for family. Right. I think that's important.
Well, and then you have the whole black market issue with what drugs have done, what the illegalness of drugs have done to create the black market, and then what a black market dealer will do to secure his business is different than what a legal retailer of the same product would do to secure their business. Okay. And so, I'm not going to say they're fully related, but they're not unrelated either. There's all the criminal activity that goes along around the distribution and sale of drugs just adds another layer of criminality that's unnecessary to what the original part of it is. And so, yeah, I think it's one of those that it's worth exploring the legal mess of it, trying to understand how far how much state. I mean, it's really the more I get down to it, the more it is that the state's really the one that gets to make the decisions, and we locally get to kind of putz around with little bits and bobs of what happens in Knoxville, Knox County, but the state's really the one that holds the key on that conversation. Mm-hmm. But still, at some level, the state representatives, local leadership, when a movement is strong enough, the state has to respond to a locality. We're breaking up again.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid internet. Mad at it. Okay. I don't know what else. What else do we miss? What's something what's going on with you that you want to share, and we'll wrap it up on one more thing.
Yeah.
Do we think it's what?
Um, I was gonna say, do you think I didn't know if I needed to try to change my connection on my end, but can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Well, I would just end with, I am Deidra Harper. I am running for City Council District 6. I am wanting to champion those things that are concerning, the people in District 6. I'm sorry, I got Siri, what's going on there? But I do think figuring out how to directly reduce the poverty rate, implementing jobs, community growth, investment, really addressing poverty in this city and this community is going to be something that will put us in a position to continue to grow. And that's what I want to do. I am your people's candidate. So come August, when the primary starts and you go check that ballot, like I said, District 6 is downtown and East Knoxville, Burlington area, Park Ridge area. So those that might be listening. But when you go to that box, check that ballot for Deidra Harper for District 6. And yeah, just thank you so much for having me on here. I hope you enjoy the conversation like I did.
I do. This is my favorite thing to do. Next time we'll have to do it in person, so we don't have to worry about internet being weird. But
Yeah.
and so you have a Facebook page for your campaign. Do you have a website or anything else you wanna put on?
Yes.
I will put a link.
So you can follow me on.
Go ahead.
Follow me at my Facebook is Deidra Harper for District 6. My website is www.deidrafordistrict6.com. Deidra is spelled Eeidra. Deidra for district6.com. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I am on Twitter, and my website.
Okay, and just for clarification, it's the
I'm looking for
FOR or the number 4.
Volunteers, donations, just to listen and talk to people.
Good. That's what it needs to be. Okay, so DEIDRAFOR district6.com. Man, I'm sorry about the internet, everybody. I'll figure out how to do it better next time. Deidra, I really appreciate you coming on. We'll have you back. I really, one of my goals this election cycle is to get a debate on, and so post primary when we're down to 2 candidates for District 6, because you guys got like 4 in that. There's like 4 or.
I think there's 3 for sure. I've not
okay.
heard of a 4th, but who knows?
They better make their mind quick, because we got a couple more days before deadline for turning in those petitions. So Deidra for district6.com, and I'm gonna outro from there. Deidra Harper, everybody, District 6. I will put some links to her contacts and stuff in the show notes. We are Almost in Agreement, almostinagreement.com. This episode was brought to you by Fanatic Brewing. Check out their tap room. It's 2727 North Central. They're now open Tuesday, Wednesday p.m. to whenever. And really, they've been open at like noon on Saturdays. So if you got some time to kill on a Saturday afternoon, go check them out at 2727 North Central. That's fanaticbrewing.com/agreement. Do me a favor and go to that link and show them that we're sending the people, because that's how they bother paying me to do this. We are Almost in Agreement, almostinagreement@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is up and running. It is almostinagreement.com. You can go there to check out all the episodes or your favorite podcast provider. More city races. That's what I'm working on right now. We'll be checking in with that, and I'm going to try to get some school board people about this new mask debacle, because we can't ever get over masks apparently. So we're Almost in Agreement. Thanks for watching. I guess listening. We don't really watch, but either one. All right, recording stopped, and our stream is ended. Okay. I'm sorry about that. That is the first time I've had